last example here. And we're going to go the opposite direction with these shakers here. So these shakers, for instance, I think they sound pretty nice. And there's no reason to necessarily weaken them. But let's say that they were in the context of a hi-hat mix. And the hi-hats had a lot of beauty and presence, but the shaker was kind of fighting with them. You didn't want the attacks of the shaker to fight with the claps. Instead of getting into some big nudging audio or moving MIDI over just a little bit to get them out of the way, we're going to go on the sweet side of the shaker to soften them just a little bit. So here's our softened shaker. Here's our readout. Let's just listen to what it's doing without anything. Okay, very cool. Now let's turn Flux on. We're going to put this on a slow attack. We're going to sweeten the heck out of it. We're going to lengthen the period. And we're also going to throw this in stereo because, again, this is a matter of taste. But to me, those shakers really have an opportunity to occupy the sides. So I want them in the sides. And so I'm going to go stereo with them. And let's look at what it does to those waveforms. With the click. Let's sweeten them even more. Longer period. Turn off the link and crank them. Bypass flux. And you can see it yourself right there in the waveform. We've rolled off a little bit of their attack. It just softened them just in terms of a few tiny milliseconds. And this is a really good way to get shakers to have identity against, say, a hat groove without them clashing with the hat groove. But it'll save you, again, using a ton of sidechain compression or trying to get the articulation or tone out of something like multi-band compression or just gobs and gobs of EQ. This is a really, really cool way to just get the sound right in the first place so that when you do start EQing and you do start playing with things, these tones have been treated in a way that they will function all the way through the end of the mix. So just to recap, we did a little bit of analog drums here, drum mix. We did a little bit of electronic drum mix. We made a weak kick have a stronger attack. We made a weak clap, and which we'll just call like kind of a clap percussion, a little bit brighter and have more bite. And we softened our shaker just a little bit. And all of these tones will benefit now from all of your further processes. If you do decide to use compression, if you do decide to use saturation, if you do want to send them off to reverbs, if you do want to marry them to other sounds in the mix, all of these little elements, all of these little edits will stack up, and these drums will have a lot more clarity and identity and punch, and they'll be much more easy to work with. Okay, so this should give you an idea of where we're going with all of these sound design plugins, all of these Transient Designer plugins. I'm going to take you through each and every plugin and highlight its strengths and where it shines, what some do, what others don't. But this should function as a blanket understanding of where we're going with all of these. And again, I really wanted to start with Flux because it's free and it really highlights what proper transient design work will do to benefit you in your sound design and in your overall mixes. Okay, stay tuned. We're on to the next one.